The founder knows the product best, and like the little sacrifices that you make along the way can really change your product at the end of the day. And like what maybe makes you unique will be gone at the end of the co-packing process. So you have to be true to yourself. One of my favorite quotes is like, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that if you're constantly comparing yourself to what's going on around you with other founders and LinkedIn updates and all of those things, you can really forget the uniqueness and the like value proposition of your brand and like what makes you so special.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Startup CPG podcast. This is Grace, and I'm here with another founder feature. Today, I'm talking to Becca Wright, the founder of Piedmont Pennies. Piedmont Pennies makes bite-sized, cheesy biscuit bites that are so decadent and delicious. They were actually a Shelfies finalist last year, and the entire Startup CPG team is truly obsessed with their product. Becca and I chat about how she turned her family recipe into a brand that is now in 35 states and growing, what it's like to self-manufacture their product, and how they're scaling their bootstrap business. I hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, let me know what you think. Hello, everyone. This is Grace, and I am here today with Becca Wright, the founder of my beloved and the whole Startup CPG team's beloved Piedmont Pennies. So welcome to the show, Becca.
Grace, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat today.
Yes, so excited to have you here. And to start, I'd love for you to just introduce our listeners to Piedmont Pennies. Like, what is Piedmont Pennies?
Well, I brought some with me just for the occasion for the YouTubers out there. Piedmont Pennies are my granddaddy's recipe from Eastern North Carolina. So they're bite-sized, cheesy biscuit crackers. So think of a crunchier, cheesier Cheez-It. It's really a charcuterie to go. You got your cheese and your crackers put together, delicious with a glass of wine, a cold beer, any beverage of your choosing. And I grew up making them with my granddaddy and with my dad as gifts for friends and family around the holidays. So fast forward 4 years later, here we are with our product, and we're in 35 states, 3 flavors, 6 employees, and it's been a really fun ride. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I'm a huge fan of the product, and I've had it on road trips. I've put it out for charcuterie boards when I've had friends over. I've eaten it as I just walked through the kitchen and decided to grab a few. I love it so much. And it is, like you said, a bit more like a kind of more decadent Cheez-It in a really lovely way. And the texture is like crumbly and buttery and just really like melts in your mouth in a super, super delicious way. So I have to say that first, but I'd love to hear a little bit about why you decided to, turn your granddad's recipe into a, fully fledged product.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. So I grew up making them, like I said. I went into corporate America. I went to college at UNC. I went to corporate America, was working at Deloitte Consulting in DC. And it was the holidays. I was feeling nostalgic. I was like, what can I give my clients as like a Christmas gift from the South, right? And I was like, okay, well, you can't really like take like fried chicken or something like that to the office. So I'm like, okay, wait, pennies. Like I miss pennies. Like I'm gonna go to the Whole Foods on P Street. I'm gonna load up my car. I'm gonna get the cheese, the butter, everything. I'm gonna make these at home. Brought them into the office, and the clients went crazy. Like they were like, where did you buy these? Like, oh my God, you made these? Like you made crackers? What? And I was like, yeah, this is the Southern thing. Cheese straws. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. Cheese straws is a very Southern delicacy, which you always have around the holidays, baby showers. It really is like that gourmet delicacy that amps up your cocktail hour. And so I was like, these are cheese straws, but they're better. They're crunchier, they're cheesier, there's more cheese to flour ratio. And it's still my grandmother's recipe. Like it's the same since she started. And they were like, these are amazing. Like, we'll buy some from you. And I was like, this could be something one day. So I came back home. I wrote a 1-page business plan, was back with my parents. My parents were like, good luck. Like, this is such a labor intensive. I mean, we call them pennies because of their small size. And, it's super, we're pinching pennies. We're literally pinching them onto sheet pans. My dad and I would do it. It would take like 8 hours to make, 25 bags of, maybe 6 ounces. So it was super intensive and a labor of love. So fast forward, COVID hit. I'm in my MBA program back at UNC Chapel Hill, finishing up my internship at Facebook. And I was like, well, I'm about to take this startup entrepreneurship course online and I have to have a project to work on. And I was like, I've always wanted to like do pennies. Like, let's start pennies for class credit. Why not start a company and do it this way? And my friends were starting apps, they were doing biomedical devices, they were doing all these, like, really high tech things, AI, and I was like, I'm gonna watch my grandmother's cheese cracker recipe," and everyone was like, "What?" Yeah, and then in 4 months, we did, like, 30 grand in sales, and it was all online direct to consumer, and that's when I was like, "Hold up, like, this actually could be something," and I had a super supportive spouse who was like, "Hey, you don't know unless you try, and, like, now is the time to try." So, yeah, that was a little over 4 years ago that we started, um, and here we are. So, yeah, a lot of twists and turns, and I don't know what I'm doing along the way, but we can dive into those too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious when were working on this for your class project and decided to create it, were you still hand making all of the Piedmont pennies yourself?
Yes. When it was a class project, I realized, like, I'm gonna have to get a commercial kitchen or rent one, but it was COVID, so a lot of the restaurants in Chapel Hill had shut down, and I got to rent one that was a food truck kitchen, a commissary kitchen, and I got to rent it at night, the only time it was available, and it was 8 PM to 2 in the morning. So I got, like, really reduced rent, which was great, and what we do is we do pre-orders because cash is king, no investors then, and so it was like we would do pre-orders. We would go in for 2 or 3 days, and I'd use that cash to go buy cheese, butter, flour, that kinda thing, and then actually my MBA classmates and my own family would come in at night and pinch pennies, and this was, like, again, September 2020, so we've got mask on, gloves on, 6 feet apart, no more than, like, 4 or 5 people in the room, and we're just talking and catching up and having a little red wine and pinching pennies and just honestly trying to find, like, a reason to stay cheesin', which is our slogan now, but, like, a reason to be together and have that community and get through tough times together. So we would just make them at night, and I'd sell them at the pickup on Saturday or
Oh my
online.
god. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of work, but also
Yeah.
probably was nice, like you said, to be in community during that time when we were often so far from our loved ones or not able to see them. So it sounds like, both exhausting and a lot of work and had some nice elements of it as well. So I imagine you're not still personally pinching all of your Piedmont pennies. So could you talk us through a little bit about how you've sort of transitioned your business to you and your friends and family creating these Piedmont pennies from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. To where you are now, where you're in, 35 different states.
It's a lot more manual than wish it was still, but at the same time, I do think that it helps us be so hands-on and so into our quality when we're not having to make a lot of sacrifices for fancy machinery, but, the evolution has been, like, slow steps, and I think I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna have to have 250 grand to buy this dough depositor and then get this tunnel of," and just all these things, and I was like, wait, no, we can take small baby steps as we scale and continue to invest in better equipment and sell the old. And we can just, we can do this like the low and slow or old fashioned way. It's actually been a lot faster growth than I thought. But at the same time, it's fun to be methodical and not like get ahead of your skis like I see a lot of businesses do. So first step was okay, we got to figure out a faster way than hand pinching these, but we did do that for the first 6 months. It was just like hand pinching all of it. And we obviously had a capacity issue and it was really labor intensive. And then we got a thing that was a little more mechanical and like hand done, a depositor that was helpful. And then from there, we found an automatic one that helps, but it's still, we don't have fancy tunnel ovens or anything crazy, but we still are putting in like a huge double rack into a 48 rack oven at a time. And so we're baking them and then we take them out. We let them cool in front of a huge fan, a commercial fan in our kitchen. And then we have a automated waste scaler packaging machine, which allows us to use our different size bags and we're still heat sealing and everything. I'm getting a little too in the weeds, but that's it's still very, and I think that that's okay. Everyone again thinks that it has to be some glorious process, but it does allow us to stop the production when there's a quality issue and really be hands on with like, like the cheese didn't come out the way we thought, or this didn't happen the way we thought in the oven. The oven's acting up, and we've got an amazing production team of 4 women that are in there that really know the product well. And I think that that speaks volumes to like how our quality can be on the output when they are paying such a close attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. I mean, we spoke a little bit about this before we started recording, but I'm curious to hear a little bit more about, why you haven't gone down the co-packer route so far. I think so many founders are like in this position where they're like, do I want to like take it out of my own hands and give it to a co-man? Or do I want to keep self-manufacturing, but that's a lot of work? And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that process for you guys.
Yeah, I don't think those are right or wrong. I think people want to paint it as black and white, or you have to do this to scale, or you can't do this if you want quality. I think it depends on the product. Bottom line, what is the product you're doing? You probably can't buy a big canning machine if you're a beverage company or a hot sauce company. You probably want to go to a co-packer, and I get that. But the founder knows the product best, and like the little sacrifices that you make along the way can really change your product at the end of the day. And like what maybe makes you unique will be gone at the end of the co-packing process, so you have to be true to yourself. To be candid, we've tried 2 different co-packers. They have, sucked the life out of me in a lot to just be very candid, but at the same time, I've learned so much about myself, about the importance of the quality of our product, our team. I've learned more about, what we would need to do to scale, and I've honestly had to turn down a couple, retail opportunities because we said no to those co-packers, and, one of them, we left on, like, super great terms, and I hope that I come out of Fancy Food Show with, like, a need to use them, and maybe for a little bit different of a product, but, I think it's such a science. It's such a business partnership, and my best advice for anyone going down it is to trust your gut. Because I have listened to every podcast that CPG has put out about co-packers. I've talked to so many startup founders that have, similar products in different categories, and, like, I can't tell you how much it means to just trust your gut, because I got weird gut feelings of stuff from the beginning, and you just have to listen to that, but at the same time, I could be better and greater down the road when we do partner with, the one we're thinking about in, a couple months, but if you think it's gonna take 4 months, it's gonna take a year, so just be patient of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It always takes longer than you wish it would. Um, yeah, and I was thinking too as you were talking about going to things like fancy foods or turning down retailers, sort of on the other side of the behind the scenes, making the Piedmont pennies, how the pennies are made. A little bit more of the consumer facing, how you get them into the hands of consumers and how you've approached retail expansion.
Yeah, so we, again, being bootstrapped, we've taken it a little different direction than going into every grocery store tomorrow. Our product is a little bit more like gourmet and premium in both its quality, its price, its packaging, everything. So our target market are shopping at boutiques, gift shops, wine shops, charcuterie, and like salami, cheese shops. And so that's where we have gone after. So we have gone to some like gifting boutique retail shows and positioned pennies as like the gourmet gift that you want to take along with your cute candle or along with your pretty sweater you're getting for your mom. Pennies are like that delectable gourmet treat that it's also like a present to open and to get. So it might not be a daily consumable. It is to some. Trust me, we got people on subscription and it's amazing, but, at the same time, it's really nice to have something that is a pleasure and a nostalgic joy, and to be able to gift that. So we've gone to a lot of these, like, retail gift markets to start, but the bottom line with food is you gotta try it to buy it. So, like, you have to find a way to get mass sampling out there and be on your feet with trays of your crackers or chocolates or whatever, and to get people to try it, because people would try it and be like, "Oh, cheese cracker, what?" And they would turn around mid-aisle and say, wait a second, what did I just taste? Like, that is so different than anything I've ever had. Like, what? And that's when we can, like, go into the story and talk about the brand, and the goal is to convert people to penny pals, we call them, like, our loyal customers that are into pennies, quality gift giving, local small business, and are like so supportive of that. And then from there, we can introduce them to other brands and friends that we have that have a similar value alignment. So, anyways, it's a full circle karma, like, be good to others. And I think that that's what's so powerful about these trade shows. And we started in this gifting category. And now we're starting, as our capacity has grown, we've started to we're now in all the North Carolina fresh market locations, and that is a great trial for us, and, like, they're amazing partners to work with, or the smaller distributor, excuse me, to service those, and that's been so fun. But I'm like, "Let's do all the demos there, let's just test it, let's just go full send in a smaller market that we can handle before they wanna release us into the wild of national."
We'll be right back.
Hey, startup CPGs, get ready for Sunrise 2027. What's that, you might say? Well, 2027 is the deadline where retailers need to be able to scan 2D barcodes like a QR code at the point of sale. It's going to replace the traditional UPC. Will your products be ready? GS1 US, best known as a source for UPC barcodes, is working with brands and retailers to evolve the way consumers access complete product information. You can go to their website, gs1us.org, to download guidance on the transition from UPC to 2D barcodes. You can watch recorded workshops, and you can learn from other small businesses who are pioneering the 2D barcode movement.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah, definitely. And this episode will come out in early January. So I'm curious if you have um sort of like any other retail plans. And I think you mentioned that you're going to Fancy Foods next year. So do you have any other retail like goals or sort of targets you're looking to hit next year as you continue to grow?
So first off, yes, our first fancy food show. So please, if anyone hears this, come by and say hey to my husband and I slinging pennies, and we would love to sample with you. And we'll be in the startup CPG section, which I'm super excited about, and to just meet and get everyone's energy and just make
Yeah.
new friends. Yeah, goals for next year. We got some packaging improvements we made this year. That really took up ton of time, and I was super excited about those. So now it's about like sharing those improvements with others for a better user experience. I think we're gonna focus a little more on, like, gift basket companies, these more unique opportunities in hospitality, airlines, hotels. I know big guys to go after, but it just makes so much sense with our product. I couldn't imagine being, you know, in first class or in main cabin and getting some kinda charcuterie box and experiencing pennies with the nuts and with, a little spreadable cheese, and I mean, that just sounds delectable with a glass of wine. And so I'm trying to think of the opportunities where I wanna experience pennies, and I ask my target customers all the time, like, and what I'm doing is any feedback of, "You should get in here, you should get in here." Like, Total Wine has been a big, one people have pushed on us, a couple other Central Midwest, kind of larger wine stores and wine shops, and, I'm like, "Great, like, where you guys, our loyal customers, see pennies is where we need to be." So, rather than me trying to go full send into every single Whole Foods, I needed to be practical and think about where do our customers wanna see us and where will that velocity be?
Yeah, I think that's so smart. And as you were saying all those locations, I was like, "Oh my god, yes, I want Piedmont Pennies on the
I know.
plane."
You're in a
Or like, "I want Piedmont."
hotel,
Yes, at my
mini bar.
hotel. Oh my god, it's perfect. Yeah, that's I think I was like, "Yes, I'm on board," as you were saying that. So, I think
Thank
that's a
you.
great idea. And like you said, listening to your customers and thinking about where they're gonna be and where they're gonna want these things is really smart. And because not everyone is right for a Whole Foods, even if like sometimes it feels like in the CPG world, everybody's just like, I gotta get into Whole Foods. I gotta get into Whole Foods.
I know, and we said earlier, but one of my favorite quotes is, like, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think that if you're constantly comparing yourself to what's going on, around you with other founders and LinkedIn updates and all of those things, you can really forget the uniqueness and the, like, value proposition of your brand and, like, what makes you so special. So like I've got a friend who has a like endurance energy gel company and a hydration company, and like his target market, he needs to be going to marathons, he needs to be in fleet feets, he needs to be in running stores and things like that and doing these demos with run clubs. And like you might not find pennies there. We're gonna be at the wine club, we're gonna be at the Mahjong group, we're gonna be at the Bunko, whatever. We're gonna be in these gifty locations and special occasions. And I think and that's okay, like, saying no to something is saying yes to something else, and I think that so many people can just push, 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 but if you feel like you're pushing so hard and it doesn't feel right in your gut, you should listen to that.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I wanted to touch on, as you are like scaling Piedmont, is the fact that you guys are bootstrapping and how you're managing, bootstrapping your business and also preparing to scale into, potentially more retail locations or, just growing your business in different ways. And I know bootstrapping has its pluses and minuses, and I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about your experience.
Yeah, bootstrapping has been, like, the best thing and also the worst thing the last 4 years. Um, the yeah, to answer your question, I think what the bottom line is, making sure your margins are there, right? No margin, no mission. And so if you, at the end of the day, I hate when people say, "Oh, well, when we make 10,000 units or 30,000 units, then we'll have margin." And I think that I've heard Daniel and others talk about it, that is just not the right mindset. And so, like, from the first, um package, jar, label I made in PowerPoint, like the first unit we made, I was like, we need to have a healthy margin because like, you think it's only gonna go up, but then, like, as you start buying and scale and paying people and rent and fixed costs, like, sometimes it can go down. So you just need to make sure that, you're taking care of yourself and setting a high customer willingness to pay, and, I credit my time in NBA of, like, just helping me think more practically, like, as an outsider looking on the business for that. Not that you need an MBA to start a company, but I think that, talking to smart people and, like, figuring out these frameworks before you launch and, like, have your pricing out there, I think it's important. I'll be candid, we've won over $200,000 in grants. So grants have been so powerful to be, like, an engine for this business. That was I mean, just such a blessing. We won a $50,000 grant, like, more locally in North Carolina, which helped us buy our first ovens and mixers and helped us achieve economies of scale, more margin to put back into the business and pay my first employee, move her to full time from part time. And then the next grant we got was one from a bank, like, foundation, and again, you can check regionally, you can talk to economic development and partnership in your state and your county level, and, the startup CPG community, obviously, which is awesome too, and there's tons of perks with all the sponsors and whatnot. So, I just think that getting creative there, I was like, "I'm gonna apply, I'm gonna apply. I know it's gonna take a while, but, like, I'm just gonna put my hat in the ring," and I like when people say, like, "Don't let yourself be the one to tell you no." I just I've been turned down for grants too, don't get me wrong, and when I've been told no, I've said, "Okay, well, we're gonna try again next year, and we're gonna just keep figuring it out." So, that the grants have been a huge, huge help, to just get us off the ground.
Yeah, definitely. And just a little bit of a cushion, it's nice to have that. I know you were when you were launching this, you were doing your MBA, but were you also working at all while you were launching Piedmont, or were you like full in on Piedmont Pennies the whole time?
Yes, I finished my summer internship at Facebook, and it was in misinformation and, like, spam operations, and it was a crazy time in 2020 with all that was going on with COVID, the election, racial injustice. It just was wild, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed my time there and learned a lot and was with so many smart people. And so I was, like, in the background at night, like, getting the Instagram up with pennies, and I was like, "I kinda wanna start this," like, with the class, and but then it was my 2nd year of the MBA program that was all online because of COVID, and so I was doing class full time, so I'd have study group Zoom sessions and things like that, but that's why we couldn't go bake until 8 p.m. because I had to walk the dog, and I had dinner with my husband who was working remotely at the time too, and, it was a grind for the 6 months of
Yeah.
that.
Yes, definitely. And I'm sure it was also kind of a little bit of a scary decision to say, okay, I'm not going to go maybe continue working at Facebook and get that
Right.
nice cushy salary. I'm going to go into my own small business.
Grace, that was so hard. Like, I got the offer and I knew I should have been so excited about it, and my husband and I were like, we had a realtor, we were gonna move to Austin, like, it was full send, like, this was gonna happen, and we're both from North Carolina, and something just didn't feel right, and I think in COVID, we really, like, kinda got back to the core of our being of, like, kind of like survival instincts a little bit, right? You know, we'd keep up with our family, we would do FaceTimes with our friends, we would just do like the bare minimum to like get by every day and not go crazy and be listening to the news and not knowing what was going on. But that was helpful because it silenced a lot of the noise of, like, what I think I should do, and it was more like, "Life is short, not promised tomorrow. What what do you wanna do?" And my husband was just so supportive of that. He was like, "Why don't you try it for 3 months, and if it doesn't work, like, we apply for more jobs." And I was like, "You're right." So we tried it for the 3 months, and then that's when I had to tell Facebook that I, wasn't gonna be coming, and they were so gracious, and they were like, "Reach back out, like, if things, don't work out, and we'll be here." And I think too, I think people think like the door is gonna completely shut if you go try your small business or, you launch your food product and it's like, you can do it for 2 or 3 years and trust your gut again, do another evaluation, go back to corporate America. That's what you want. Life is not linear. And that's like that was the best learning experience for me to figure that out.
We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to announce that Startup CPG finally has an official Amazon agency partner. I know a lot of you are looking to Amazon as a great growth channel for this year and beyond, and Daybreak is the best agency that I've come across that will work with emerging brands. They have a really affordable retainer structure. It's a lot less than you'll find with other agencies that might charge you upwards of $5,000 a month, which is crazy. Based on recommendations from this community, I actually worked with Leon for my own brand and had an amazing experience. The sales grew very quickly. We started ranking really high on organic search results and really just capturing search terms in the category. I think he is an amazing fit for brands in this community, and I highly recommend reaching out to him for a chat. You can reach out to him at leon@daybreak.agency. That's LEON at Daybreak, DAYBREAK.agency. Make sure you mention us at Startup CPG so that you can get $600 of free design credits if you end up working with them. Good luck.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's like filled with so many hard decisions being a founder. It's like every step of the way I feel like you're making decisions like that one, which is to like go for the bigger sort of like flashy thing that would be what everybody else would see as like amazing, or go for the thing that's like you said, trusting your gut, or the thing that you really want, or the thing that you think is best for your business, and just a million hard decisions every day, I'm sure. And so that leads me to another question I always like to ask, which is kind of what has been one of the hardest parts about being a founder, and how, did you work through it, or how are you still trying to work through it?
Mm, yeah, that's a really hard part. Um, there's like one that's more tangible that comes to mind with bootstrapping. Every year and a half, we're outgrowing our space. And hence why a lot of people don't manufacture in-house because you need more space, but you can't afford it. So, you're doing what you can afford. But then in a year, when you grow and things go well, you're needing more space. So we have had 3 different commercial kitchens. We've had, like, or spaces. We now have a warehouse where we're taking the product packaged, sealed, it's food safe, taking it down to our warehouse down the street, and it is a bane of my existence. But it also is allowing us to operate and to have more, capacity, which is great and a blessing, and hire more people. Um, I'd say that commercial real estate has been really difficult for me, and I don't think our commercial real estate environment favors small business, and that's been so tough to live in an awesome place like Charlotte. I mean, it's no like San Francisco or Austin or whatever, but like it is growing fast, and it is such a fun place to be and great. Had an airport close. The brewery scene here is so alive. The sports. I mean, it's just a really fun time to be here. But the real estate is so expensive and it's just growing so quickly. And so it's hard to find the right amount of square footage. We're bigger than a commissary kitchen. We've done that, been there, done that. Now we're in more food production. We're not just making like specialty cakes at night. Like this is like full on manufacturing. But we're in between. We don't need a 40,000 square foot space and we don't need like a 5,000 square foot space. So I think, and I also don't want to sign a 5 or 10 year lease somewhere. So,
Right.
that's been really tough for me, commercial real estate. And the other thing I'll say is, like I feel like at the beginning you'll take these risks and you're really willing to like go to that demo and go to that pop up and work that market and you're not overanalyzing it. You're like, we just got to get out there. Like everything's going to be great experience. And then I think you get a little jaded the couple years in and you start trying to overanalyze everything and say like, well, is that risk worth the reward? And it's like you got to leave some room for spontaneity and trust your gut at the end of the day. I might be like, I don't really know if that market's worth it, but I'm like, but that's where our target customers are. And you never know the relationships that can start there. And then I go and then I meet someone that works at American Airlines and we have the best conversation. And now I'm talking to someone there. So it's just, you really have to be true to yourself and not overanalyze it. And I have a great board of advisors so again, I have 100% of the company, but I think that having a board is so important. So we meet quarterly. They're friends, mentors of mine, people in the food industry. And we meet quarterly and it gives me accountability. I share a monthly report with them as if they were investors in it. And I do like to try to reimburse them for their time and pay them in pennies, I joke. But that is something I would tell anyone, especially so even if you don't have investors, like people that you look up to or that are supportive of your journey, pull them on board. You have 5 or 6 people, and to be able to have accountability, it's been super helpful. But the commercial real estate has been really tough. That's just a personal issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. Especially like Charlotte, it's definitely a desirable place for people to be. And I can imagine that it's just getting harder and harder, unfortunately. So on the flip side, what has been one of the best moments or one of your proudest moments since founding Pennies?
I know it's not as flashy, but I think it's employing my people and giving bonuses. We just gave our like holiday bonuses today, and like the texts I'm receiving, and the people that they're first generation U.S. citizens, and it's so empowering to like help them get their driver's license and help them uh, just have jobs after high school and to think about long-term goals. And I speak pequeña, very little Spanish, okay? But it's pushing me, man. It's pushing me to like brush up on it and to help them and like look out for them as if they're like my siblings. And that's honestly been the best. And I think that will live like long after Pennies is gone. Um, fun, tangible things. I mean, gosh, like we were on Good Morning America as like a fall food favorite, with Tori Johnson, and we met them at, the Atlanta wholesale market, and that was a super fun, like, crazy process, and it was super cool. And this year we won Coolest Thing Made in North Carolina. That's an award with the North Carolina Chamber. So we were the small business award winner beside Honda Jet Engines, which was the largest business. So it's so funny, it's cheese crackers and like jet engines. But it's just funny things like that God has just made this like really windy, curvy path for Pennies, and it's been so fun. And I this year especially have started experiencing pennies in my business as part of like my life rather than just like having them it just be all about pennies. It's like, I want to go to fancy food because I would like to go to Vegas. My husband's going to come with me and we're going to go see a show and like, and it's just, it's cool that I can build a life that is what we want to, but also what my customers want. Drop my headphones, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, that's so sweet. I mean, everything you just said, but speaking about like your employees and like how you're supporting them and how they're supporting Piedmont, like that's just really, really sweet to hear. And um, it was like making me emotional. Maybe it's just
No,
that it's
seriously, it's
around.
like this core thing. It's not what people like see, but it's so funny when
Right.
I think about what has been the best parts. And it's like, I mean, even giving a loan to an employee that needs it, it's just these small things of like, I don't know, it's kind of goes down to like the core of our being, just taking care of people. And that's kind of what I want Pennies to be an extension of, is like, oh, Pennies, and you're a penny pal, and this is what we're about, and this is what business can be about. And I think it's a little bit old school, but I think we can bring it back.
Yeah, I love it. So, sort of on the other side of you supporting people, how can the Startup CPG community and our listeners support you and support Piedmont Pennies?
Oh, that's so kind. I think, yeah, following us on Instagram, TikTok, getting better at TikTok, but I'm in the like what do you call it, young millennial generation, so I'm working on it. Yeah, check us out on our website. Feedback's a gift, I think. So like giving us any feedback. Um, I made a discount code. You can use code Startup CPG for 15% off at piedmontpennies.com. And I think, yeah, just saying, hey, supportive. I mean, I love if I just come across a brand and I love it. I'm like messaging them on Instagram, like, I love the vibe. Or hey, this Instagram post really spoke to me. So I think that all those things are like really important. Just little heads up, little high fives, virtual high fives. I think that
Yeah.
that's the best way. And if anyone recommends any of their retailers that they're like, oh, wait, Pennies would actually fit well here, would love that. And I'd love to help you, and vice versa. If I can help people in the Charlotte and North Carolina market, especially.
Yeah, that's awesome. And everybody should go check out Piedmont Pennies and order some for themselves. It's like I said a couple times in this interview, I'm such a fan and they're so good and you should really try them yourself. And yeah, they're really cute too. Um, Becca's holding up
Well,
a
guys,
box for our listeners. Um, but yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show, Becca. It was so much fun to learn more about Piedmont Pennies and your family recipe and just everything you guys are doing. And I can't wait to see where you guys go next.
thanks, Grace. Thanks for having me and fostering this community. I'm excited to meet a lot of new penny pals. So hope everybody stays cheesing.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would help us out so much if you left a 5-star review on ratethispodcast.com/startupcpg. I am Grace Kennedy, the host of the Founder Feature Series, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn or reach out to me on Slack. I'm always on the hunt for new and exciting brands to feature. And if you're a potential sponsor who would like to appear on the podcast, please email partnerships@startupcpg.com. And finally, as a reminder for anyone listening, if you haven't already, we would love for you to join our community on Slack. You can sign up via our website, startupcpg.com.